Hello, welcome to the Warframe First Step Guide for new players. Today we are going to be covering spy missions and we're going to be hitting just about every spy on the basic star chart without covering the Kuba Fortress. Now first, if you head over to the market and you scroll to the equipment section and you click on gear, you'll see you have the option to buy a cipher. A cipher is an auto hack tool that can be used at a terminal, but I don't suggest you use them. I suggest you just get good at hacking terminals because later in the game there will be instances where you cannot use ciphers. But for now, if you're having trouble hacking terminals, I recommend you buy these ciphers. Once you buy these ciphers, go over to your foundry and craft said ciphers. And remember to put them in your gear once you craft them. So as you can see, I got the 10 times cipher and I also got the 100 times cipher and I got the side note. While you're in your arsenal, if you click on the mods for your Parazon, you'll see that you have a mod called Intruder. Intruder gives you an extra 8 seconds when hacking most terminals. I believe when hacking the Grineer terminals, you really have no time limit, so it just kind of slows the tab on those down. So after you're done, I'm gonna head to the star chart and we're gonna be starting off with the spy missions on Earth just so we can cover them all from top to bottom. We are gonna be running all these spy missions with Excalibur because as a new player, I'm assuming you don't have a lot of Warframes, and I'm assuming you especially probably don't have access to many stealth Warframes. So I'm gonna show you all of this can be done with base Excalibur. Okay, so we are at the first A node here on Earth. So I'm gonna go ahead and hack my way inside. And these ones are fairly simple. For these ones, it's just a matter of avoiding the lasers. As you do harder versions of these missions, because a lot of these are randomly generated, you might get a level 100 sortie mission on a node like this. And as you do harder versions of this, harder versions will have much more countermeasures. But either way, these ones are usually pretty straightforward. So just be careful, take your time, and get to the data room undetected without tripping the alarms, assuming you can do that, which I absolutely 100% believe you can. So I'm going to go ahead and pull data and then we're going to move on to Terminal B. So these terminals, the objective area where you need to hack is basically at the very top. And because of the way they spawn you in here, there's really no great way to get to the top undetected. So the best thing you can do is just get to the top as quickly as possible before anyone can even trip the alarms. So as you can see, with 2 nice bullet jumps, I just make my way to the very top of this location and I get to the objective area to hack the terminal. And if you look down, you can see where we started. We started at the bottom of that waterfall. And because of the way they spawn you in here, any enemy can easily see you. So the best way to do this, in my experience, is just to jump to the terminal as quickly as possible and try to make that within a couple seconds. Anyway, moving on to Terminal C. So with these terminals, the first thing I like to do is I like to kill everybody in the room. You'll see a couple Grineers swinging in. On harder versions of this, it's a lot harder to kill the enemies, but I'm assuming you have an in-game build at that point, so you shouldn't have too much trouble if you're on like a sortie version of this. But what you want to do is basically look at your map. On your map, you'll have 3 or 4 terminals that you need to hack. Each one of these terminals will lower the level of the water, right? So make sure you just look at your map and you hack those terminals in the order they're available. So the last terminal is going to be behind this waterfall. So I'm just going to jump up here and take this little side route around and hack the last terminal. And that should pretty much drain the pool for the most part. There will also be rescue missions that are a variation of this, right? So these are worth getting good at because A lot of times, rescue missions are this same exact format where you have to hack these terminals, drain the water. That way, it reveals the pods that need to be hacked in order to rescue the hostage. But I'm gonna hack the last terminal, pull the data, and that should do it for Earth. So now I'm gonna make my way to extraction, and we are gonna move on to Mars since Mars is the next destination that you go after Earth. So I want to do these in order from top to bottom because as a new player, these are the order in which you're going to encounter these planets. And you should get good at spy missions because spy missions have really good rewards like dual status mods, which give you plus status chance and plus a status on your weapon. And those are invaluable early in the game, right? They also give you Ivara parts. So here we are on Mars. We're at the first terminal. And for the most part, a lot of the other terminals are just harder variations of this terminal. So I'm gonna bullet jump all the way across over here. As you can see, there's a hole in the roof right here. I'm gonna proceed to the hole, go down the little hallway at the end of the hole, and once I cross the hallway, I'm gonna pass through this railing and just drop down, and this is gonna take me to a door that's right in front of the terminal that needs to be hacked. So I'm gonna go ahead and hack a terminal, and then we are gonna proceed on our merry way. So next, we have B terminal, right? And one thing that's worth noting is if the alarms are going off, make sure you hack the alarms and kill any enemies in the surrounding area before you go in to pull data. So these ones are usually pretty easy, right? All you have to do is shoot the sensor bar, walk through the door. There's going to be another sensor bar right there. Shoot that too. And there's going to be a drone with lasers walking around, right? Don't let the lasers detect you because you don't want to trip those lasers because then it's going to purge the data. So just avoid that bot until he goes up to the terminal and turns his back. As soon as he goes up to the terminal and turns his back, you should have a decent window to go over there and hack the terminal and pull the data undetected. And one thing that is worth noting is if he does detect you, he will activate this drone right here. It's this mini jackal thing. But if you defeat that thing, it will give you a sigil. So here we are at Terminal C. These terminals are usually pretty easy, and although they may have countermeasures in the room, the method to get in them never changes. Just jump up to the very top. You should see a hole in the gas. Destroy the sensor bar. Not that you're going to be going through that door, but it's just a good practice to destroy those sensor bars. And go ahead and head up to the terminal, and you should be able to pull data without much effort involved. So we identified a lith relic as well as some mods and some endo. So we are going to be running through Phobos next, since Phobos is one of the next planets you reach after making your way through Mars. Now, Phobos is a Corpus planet, so I think it's worth having magnetic damage, but you don't necessarily have to kill anything. But what I will say is at higher levels, there might be a bunch of enemies bombarding you at the terminal room. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I kill anything on the way. But what I will say is at the ones with an elevator, enemies usually can't come in the room. So as the elevator is going down, you're going to see a vent that you can go through. That vent is usually going to take you to the second floor. And for some reason, the enemies over here might instantly see you. I don't know, DE seems to have boosted their sense of perception or some shit because the enemies over here will instantly see you. So kill any enemies in the way because you don't want any enemies tripping the alarm while you're trying to drop down and make your way through these lasers. So drop down the tower, make your way through the lasers, avoiding any lasers on the way. And once you get to the last set of lasers, I like to kind of just jump to avoid them because on higher level versions of this mission, there will be more lasers in the middle, right? and it's a lot easier to avoid them if you just jump on the last one. So here I am at Terminal B. I'm gonna go ahead and hack my way inside. And this is gonna be one of those ones where you need to avoid the lasers, right? And I probably take a little bit too long right here, but you wanna kind of make sure you have the pattern down before you run, because at higher level versions of this one, the lasers will be a lot faster. So if you hide in these crevices too, the lasers won't be able to get you. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my way through this vent right here. This vent is gonna take me to a little door, right? This sometimes too, there's a upper part of the vent that'll take you directly to the terminal from there, right? That's what I just ran back for to check. But as I make my way through the vent, I can see there's a camera right here. So I'm gonna check the lasers, and I have more than enough time to head through this door right here and disarm the lasers. And now I'm gonna proceed at my own leisure. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look through the window inside the room, because sometimes there will be a camera facing this door right here, and as soon as you hack the door, the camera will see you and there's nothing you can do. So if there is a camera, a good practice is not to go through the door. What you would have to do is you would have to head through this vent. And sometimes when you make your way through these vents, there's a camera on the other side, but not directly in your viewpoint. So just be aware of that. And as you make your way through the vent, you should see an alternate route in order to get into the data extraction room. So I'm going to pull data from this one. As you can see, these terminals are pretty easy, but they do get a lot harder later on, right? And we're going to make our way over to Terminal C. Now, harder variations of this tile set will have some crazy hard terminals. Luckily, this is an early level variation of this tile set, so you shouldn't have too much trouble getting through this one. This one is simply just a matter of avoiding the lasers. So I'm gonna hack my way inside, and normally on harder level versions of this one, where you have to go through the lasers and you're moving real fast, what you want to do is parkour, and you want to aim for that pillar right there, because as you're bullet jumping, this pillar will stop your momentum and it'll stop you from flying into the lasers unintentionally, right? And as you make your way across, there's going to be some terminals where you can disarm the lasers, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Just make your way across, and you would want to land at this terminal right here, right? I'm not this terminal, but this pillar right here, because that side pillar would stop your momentum from flying through the lasers. But luckily, this is a low level version of this mission, and I do believe we get a harder level variation of this mission on Neptune, where there are a lot of lasers, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and pull data from this terminal. And keep in mind, guys, you do have a chance of getting Ivara parts. I got Ivara extremely easily on this playthrough of Warframe. So one thing I like to do is, if I see a vent inside the room where I just extracted data, I like to shoot that vent and see where it leads to, because a lot of times those vents will show you alternate routes that you could get into the data extraction room to. So on this run, we identified Serration, some Lith relics, and sometimes I don't see like a third identified item, but it's whatever. I'm just gonna assume it's there, you know. But next, since Phobos leads directly to the void, we are going to be heading over to Ceres, because Ceres is going to be the next planet you have access to upon leaving Mars. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to Ceres, and we're going to run the spy mission that is on Ceres. So join us for that. So here we are at Terminal A. I'm gonna hack my way inside the room. And as you can see, this one is just another variation of one of the ones we've already done, right? So this one's not just another variation, it's an exact copy and paste of that one. So This one's really easy. Just head through the holes on your right. Avoid the lasers while jumping down this long hallway. Jump up this little hole. Head through the hallway. Head down the railings and hack your way into the data extraction room. And bam, that's you all done for this one. Anytime you get a terminal like this one, you're going to be pretty easy. I guess the extra difficulty is now the terminal you have to hack is a little harder. But here we are at terminal B. The alarms are going off, so I'm going to reset the alarms before I go in terminal B because I don't want any enemies coming inside. So I have an Xmas unit right here, right? So I'm going to kill the Xmas unit. And sometimes, a lot of times, there's not an Xmas unit. A lot of times, there's those robot drones riding around, the ones to where if you even shoot them, they'll instantly start purging the data, right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hack this elevator. And that's going to make it so when I go through this tunnel, I don't have to go all the way through to the back. I can just go up this little middle section right here, right? And from here, I'm going to enter the data extraction room. And I meant to stealth kill that guy, but I ended up just hitting the terminal instead, and I managed to do it undetected. From here, you can head back to the elevator, call the elevator, and proceed out this location. So here we are at Terminal C. As you can see, once again, this one's another copy and paste, right? If you're lucky, you'll get a copy and paste of all the easy terminals, but this one should be second nature to you by now. You know, just head inside, jump up the tower, head in the hole in the roof, avoid the sensor bar, hack the data, and bam, that's you all done. And as you can see, we identified Deep Freeze, Vitality, and a Mesa Relic. So next, we're going to be moving on to Jupiter. And Jupiter is one of the tile sets that have a lot harder randomly generated spy missions, right? Because Jupiter is one of the tile sets that was reworked. And as a result of that, they reworked the spy missions. And some of the spy missions, I mean, some of them are fine, but some of them are complete bullshit. So anytime you're running spy missions on Jupiter, I suggest you just don't, or be very cautious. As a new player, if you're going to run spy missions on Jupiter, at least just be cautious, take your time. So here I am at Terminal A, and I'm not even sure the alarms are going off right here. I think I'm just getting harassed by all these Corpus enemies before I can even make my way into the data extraction room. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to take these guys out before I head into the room. Now the alarms are going off, so I'm gonna go ahead and just cipher that. That way I can kind of make my way inside. And here we go. So these Jupiter spies suck. As you enter the room, you're gonna probably enter a room and be bombarded by a bunch of lasers and cameras. The key to this is to take your time, but kill all the enemies along the way because you don't want any enemies tripping the alarms while you're doing this. Take your time and head to any of those white dots you see on your map. And what those should do is those should either disarm some of the lasers or make it so you can at least now pass through some of the lasers because now some of them are blinking. So I actually get a little lost right here because sometimes you can actually go around. Sometimes these two doors will be open and those will lead to directly the other side. And you basically just want to do on the other side as you did to this side. So right here, you see there's a bunch of lasers. I'm just going to take my time, walk through the lasers, and I'm going to disarm that terminal, right? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hack this terminal. And I'm not even sure which lasers this disarms, but whatever it does, it can't be bad. So I'm going to go ahead and hack that terminal right there. And this laser wall right here seems a little iffy, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head through this vent right here to see if the vent leads anywhere significant to where I can get past the lasers. Unfortunately, it does not. But I do come to the conclusion that I can get past that laser as long as that door opens instantly, right? So I make my way through the door and I click on this terminal right here, and that terminal disarms this laser beam that was harassing me, right? So I'm gonna make my way over here, and I'm gonna hit this terminal, and this terminal is gonna disarm that laser beam, and then I'm gonna look around a little bit because I see a camera, and I don't want to accidentally run into that camera later. And I'm gonna make my way back to this terminal, and I'm gonna hack this terminal, and I'm not even sure what this terminal unlocks, but whatever it is, it can't be bad, right? And usually when the other side is unlocked, you'll see like the terminals right here and a terminal right here that you can hack, right? So keep in mind when you do this, it might be different for you. But from here, I'm gonna make my way upstairs because although there are still terminals that look like they can be hacked, it looks like I've hacked enough terminals to disarm the security measures around the actual terminal I need to extract data from, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the actual terminal, and boom, we're gonna do that undetected. And that's actually the first time I've been able to pull data from Jupiter's undetected. Don't judge me. I usually just don't come here. But next, we're gonna head into Terminal B. So when you head into Terminal B, the strategy is the same as far as the enemies go. You want to either kill any enemies in the area as soon as you see them or they see you, or you want to completely avoid them altogether. So I'm gonna head through this furnace area right here, and I'm gonna kill any enemies along the way, right? And I do encounter a couple enemies as well as a camera. I'm gonna take out that camera before I kill the enemies because there are times in the past where I made the mistake of taking out the enemy first, and because of the advanced movement of Warframe, I just happen to end up in the viewpoint of the camera. So now I'm gonna make my way over here, and I see the terminal is past all these lasers. I look around for another route, but I don't see another route. So I'm gonna take my time and slowly observe the patterns and figure out which way I'm gonna go as long as I'm heading through these lasers. And to be honest, I probably take a little too long right here to figure out the pattern, but don't do it until you feel comfortable, guys, because you don't want to be in a spy mission with other players and then you mess around and trip the alarms all because you ran through some laser countermeasures before you were ready. So see, I'm gonna run through the path of this laser right here, and then I'm gonna just cut to the right a little bit. So I'll be behind that laser right here, and that's gonna take me directly into the data room. And bam, I'm gonna be able to extract data from this terminal. And once again, this is actually the first time I've been able to do these Jupiter spy missions undetected. And ironically, I'm using base ass Excalibur for this too. So right here at this terminal, this one's a little more complicated because this is just a wall of lasers. So for this one, kill any enemies you see, and you can avoid the lasers by running to the gaps where pillars are, the geometry of the map blocks the lasers. So as you can see, I run right here, and that's gonna block that big laser wall. And I just take my time running through these laser countermeasures, and I hit one terminal to disable some of the countermeasures, right? And as I'm making my way through, I'm just being very careful to avoid any lasers and hit any terminals along the way. That way I don't have to deal with the countermeasures. So right here, I observe that the box right here is blocking the laser wall, so that kind of gives me some breathing room, right? And so I see the laser walls cannot enter that section right there. So once they pass over me, I head to the next box, the next computer box thing, and then I make my way over here because I should fully be out of view of the lasers, right? But somehow, some way, something sees me and the data starts purging. I don't even know what saw me exactly, but at this point, right, if the data starts purging, you want to make sure you've already established a route to the data. Unfortunately, I didn't establish a route to the data, but as I make my way through this hallway, I do see that I can get through the data through all these laser countermeasures, but unfortunately, by the time I get through the terminal, it's too late. So take that as a lesson from me, guys. Learn from my failure. So we're gonna extract in. We did manage to identify streamline and pressure point. So that's something. But keep in mind, there are much better rewards that you can get from doing these spy missions. So they are worth doing. But next, we're going to head over to Saturn because Saturn is the next planet that you have access to from Jupiter. So we're going to go ahead and jump over here to Saturn, not the Saturn Junction, and we're going to do this node Dione. So let's go ahead and just jump right in here. So here we are at Terminal A. And so I'm just going to hack my way inside this terminal. And as you can see, this time, instead of an Xmas unit, we got one of the robots, one of these robots. So once that robot goes into the opposite door, I'm going to head to the door he didn't go in, and I'm going to destroy the sensor bar, and I'm going to take out this enemy right here. And once you take out this enemy, act quick, because sometimes once you take out that enemy, your Sentinel will start targeting the Xmas unit in the data room through the glass, right? Because for some reason your Sentinel has punch through. So I'm gonna hack that terminal right there. And as you can see, as I come up, the Xmas unit is already waiting for me. Thank God he's waiting for me and he did not trip the alarms. So I'm gonna go ahead and extract the data and we're gonna do it undetected. So side note, guys, sometimes when you're doing these ones, they'll have a variation where there's two drones as soon as you enter the door. What you want to do is you want to wait till they go through the door and you want to hide behind this thing. And that way the drones won't see you. And as soon as the drone comes past you, hightail it through the door and proceed to the area where you need to extract data. But we're going to head over to Terminal B. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset the alarms because I don't want anywhere near running in here while I'm trying to extract any data. And I'm going to avoid any robots along my way. And so for this one, right, you have to jump through this hole. This is the easiest way to get through the terminal. Jump through this hole till you're on the conveyor belt. Make sure you avoid these laser walls right here, right? After you do that, jump through these laser grid and you'll have the option of going either this way or you can jump around here and go this way. And personally, it looks like both of those lasers have the same pattern that you have to jump through this time. Sometimes there'll be different patterns, but considering it's the same pattern, I'm going to take this route since the conveyor belt right here is moving forward. And so that gives me a little extra forward momentum. From here, just drop down this little corner section right here where you see the wire, right? If you reach the other laser, you've gone too far. Just drop down this little corner section and bam, you should be able to pull the data undetected, assuming you didn't trip any lasers. So next, we're gonna go ahead and head into Terminal C. And as you can see, we've got this one before. We've already done this one 3 times already, you know. Just head through the holes in the wall to your right. Make your way down this long hallway, avoiding the laser countermeasure in the middle. Jump through the roof, go down the railing, jump down, hack your way inside the room, and grab the data. Bam. And that's you all done. This is actually one of the easiest ones. So if you get this one, you should feel pretty lucky. So this one right here is another variation that you might get when doing spy missions on Saturn or other Grineer planets. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna reset the alarms, and I'm gonna make sure there's no enemies in the surrounding area. You wanna be real careful because there's a laser bot right here, and you don't want those lasers to detect you before you even get in the room. So once you get into the room, head to the right and head through this hole in the wall. Hack this terminal right here, because hacking this terminal should disable some of the laser countermeasures or something, right? Then proceed through the hole, and after you exit the hole, you should see a terminal all the way on the ledge over here, right? But be careful because there's plenty of laser bots. Don't hack that terminal right away. Just head through the hallway behind the terminal and go down. And if you go down and go through this area, it's going to take you right under the data extraction room. You need to hack this terminal right here because there's a laser grid on that terminal, right? And hacking this terminal is going to disable that laser grid. So you always need to do that before you enter the room, because if you don't do that, you'll have a quarter of a second to hack the terminal and get the data, and the only way you'll be able to get it is to instantly cipher it. So after you do that, head back up the way you came, avoid any of the laser bots, hack the terminal right here, and that should open the door for you. Once the door is open for you, go ahead and proceed inside. Most likely there's going to be an enemy in there. Go ahead and just take him out. And after that, you should be able to hack the data at your own leisure. So after you're done right here, you go ahead and head to extraction. And as you can see, we did identify an Ivara part as well as Hornet Strike and Pistol Gambit. So that's kind of cool. Next, we are going to head over to Uranus, because Uranus is going to be the next planet that you have access to from Saturn, and we're going to do the spies on Rosalind. What I will say is Uranus can seem kind of difficult, but as long as you do exactly what I show you, these spy missions are actually some of the easiest ones, and they might just become some of your favorite spy missions to farm because of how easy you can do these ones. So I'm gonna proceed through the mission and head to Terminal A. And as you can see, right, this is Terminal A right here. It'll probably be randomly generated, but either way, Uranus will always be these terminals. The order you get them in might be different, but it will always be these challenges you have to complete. So just follow the route I'm taking, right? Look at the route I'm taking. I'm following this yellow bar right here at the top. And then from here, I'm just going to head up. And as I make my way up, this is going to take me to a terminal that I need to hack. I'm going to hack this terminal, and it's going to bring me right into the data extraction room. And from here, I'm able to extract data at my own leisure. And that was extremely easy. Didn't even have to deal with any enemies inside. So from here, I'm at Terminal B, and I'm going to go ahead and reset the alarms because I don't want any enemies running in here while I'm trying to extract data. And I'm going to hack the terminal, make my way inside, and you're going to see a couple enemies that have their backs turned. You can kill them if you want, but I usually avoid them. Now, if you go that way, you'll have lasers to run through, and it's not going to be fun, right? But if you take this route I'm showing you and jump into the water, once you go through this hole right here, it's going to equip you on your arc ring and just follow the path you're seeing. So, right? Follow these yellow wires, because a lot of times those will take you exactly to where the terminal is, and just shoot these turbines that aren't spinning, right? And as you can see, the wires converge right here. That's a sure sign that you're where you need to go. So I'm going to jump up and I'm going to radio blind just to stun lock any enemies that are in the area. And I'm going to go ahead and hack the terminal at my own leisure. And we're going to do it undetected. Bam. And that's you all done right there. So next we're going to head over to Terminal C. Terminal C is kind of a tricky one because you need to get all the way to the top. It's another variation of the one we had at Earth where we had to just jump to the top as fast as possible. But with this one, there's a better way to make your way through the top. But unfortunately, sometimes once you drop down and you go through this door, there will just instantly be a robot right here with lasers facing the door, and it'll instantly detect you, and there's not going to be much you can do. But as long as there's not a bot right here, head over to these pipes, right? And you'll see this black reinforced glass over the pipe. Make sure you avoid any bots that are in your pathway and shoot the reinforced glass. Once you shoot the reinforced glass, the area will start to fill up with water, and this will automatically destroy the security bots, right? And so right there, you'll see this little square thing right here along the wall. That's gonna have the reinforced glass in it, right? So just try to get a good viewpoint. But whatever you do, do not go on land, because if you go on land, you will get detected and you will you will fail. So do not surface whatever you do. So we're gonna shoot out that reinforced glass. And the third one is kind of tricky. The third one is kind of hard to see. I like to head over here where these wires are so I can get a decent viewpoint and just wait till it's lined up in my sights. And as you can see, it's right there. I'm gonna shoot that one, and then I'm gonna shoot the next one, and that's gonna fill up the next level, and it's gonna destroy all the bots along the way. And from here, I can go ahead and surface all the way to the top where the data is. And a lot of times there'll be an enemy up here. If there's an enemy up here, you can kill them if you want, but if they're not really facing you, I suggest you just head to the terminal and extract data as quickly as possible. And bam, guys, that's you all done. So I'm going to go ahead and head to extraction. And as you guys can see, we identified some endo as well as a meso relic and power throw. So that's something. So next we are going to be running through the spy missions on Neptune. We are going to be running through Neptune because Neptune is the next planet that you are going to have access to from Uranus. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and get it done, guys. Okay, so one thing I will say is the spy missions on Neptune are a lot harder. So it's worth just taking your time on these spy missions. So I make my way over to Terminal A, and I immediately see there's a camera. So I take out the camera, and of course I'm not using a silenced weapon, so that's going to alert the enemy right here. And then there's another enemy. The Eximus enemy also hears me, so it's really important to take out these guys as quickly as possible, because you don't want them tripping the alarms while you're trying to make your way through these lasers, right? And so I take out the enemies over here because more enemies are coming into the room as I'm trying to extract data. But I don't panic. I just take my time and I make my way through the lasers, and I see there's a camera right here. So I destroy the camera, right? And as I'm doing this, more enemies are coming in. So I'm going to kill those enemies, and I'm going to just take my time making my way through these lasers. And I know I probably could have made my way right here, but I'm not going to chance it. I'm just going to take my time. Then I'm going to hack this terminal right here. And I'm going to be careful when hacking these terminals. The only advice I can give you is try to make a circle. Try to make a circle, and usually the pointed sides usually curve inwards. So just try to make a circle, and if it usually doesn't fit at that point, just rotate the middle one, because it's probably the middle one that doesn't match. So once again, just try to make a circle. Those pointed ends, they usually curve inwards. And once you're done, rotate the middle if it still doesn't match. And bam, we're able to do that one undetected. So we're gonna go ahead and make our way over to Terminal B and see what we can do. Now at B terminal, this is another variation with laser walls, and as you can see, these laser walls are a lot faster. So I'm just going to take my time right here, and I'm going to observe the patterns of the laser, and I'm going to run and make my way into this gap right here, right? And as I'm in this gap, I want to run to the second gap right here, and I'm going to take my time. That way I can figure out the patterns of the lasers. And once I'm confident I got the patterns down, I'm going to run around the corner, and I'm going to duck into the gap that's right under the camera. I'm going to duck into this gap right here, and I'm going to destroy the camera. And then I'm gonna wait for those lasers because they're moving way too fast. And at this point, I'm gonna run into the room and I'm gonna disable the lasers. And be careful because sometimes there's a camera in that room. And so there's a terminal you can hack right there to get into the door. But if you look into the window, you'll see that there's a camera facing that door. So as soon as you hack your way into that door, a camera's going to see you and you're going to be spotted immediately. So instead of going directly through that door, I'm going to go through this vent right here. Now, you still have to be careful because once you get through this vent, there'll be another camera. And these lasers, even though its viewpoint isn't all the way over here, if you're even standing a little bit outside of its viewpoint, it will still detect you. So just make sure you destroy that camera as soon as it turns away from your viewpoint. So next, I'm gonna run through this hole in the wall where the camera was, and I'm gonna drop down this laser grid that's on the roof. And from here, I'm gonna hack this terminal. And once again, when you're hacking these complicated terminals, just try to make a circle and make sure you curve the pointed ends inward. And bam, that's you all done. So next, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move over to Terminal C and see what we can do over there. So here we are. Remember those harder variations I was talking about earlier, right? What you wanna do is you wanna parkour over here and jump on the pillar. This is gonna stop your momentum in case you're bullet jumping, right? Then from here, just jump across these lasers. You can disable the lasers right here with this terminal, but that's not gonna help you out right here, right? So from here, just make your way through the lasers. And what you want to do is as you bullet jump, you want to aim for this pillar right here. You see how that pillar stopped my momentum and it stopped me from flying through the lasers. And then once you do that, there's going to be a door at the front of the terminal. So make sure you hack the door. And what I will say is these terminals are usually the easiest ones where it's just a complete circle. Just make a circle with that one and rotate the middle, and then you may have another complicated terminal. Remember, just try to make a circle and those pointed ends curve inward, and bam, that's you all done right there. And once again, right, since there's a vent right here, I'm just going to go through it and see where it leads. That way I can see if there's any alternate routes that I can take anytime I'm doing this. And as you can see, it does lead to this middle vent right here, but I would argue that the way I showed you is actually much easier. So I did get some pretty good rewards, but unfortunately I just don't have footage of that. Next, we're going to jump over to Pluto because Pluto is going to be the next planet you have access to from Neptune. And what I will say about Pluto is that these spies suck. Pluto is the new tile set that got the whole little revision. So these spy missions suck. But if you're lucky, like I was, you will get two of the easier variants, right? So as you can see right there, I just kind of used a cipher to open that up. And I'm getting bombarded by a bunch of enemies as I'm up here trying to go through this this data extraction process. But I make my way down the elevator and I take out the camera right here, right? And I see there's another camera, but I see there's an enemy, so I go ahead and I take out that enemy first. But what I should have did is I should have made sure I took out that camera first because that's going to bite me in the ass later. Right here, I know another enemy has detected me, so I jump up to the next level and I take out that enemy and I destroy the camera and I start getting bombarded by these little drone dudes who they can't trip the alarms, but they're still annoying as hell anyway, right? And so right here, I'm kind of just panicking, right? I'm kind of panicking, but I take out the last dude and I jump up to the top and I regain my composure and I make my way down through the laser countermeasures. And as you can see, the lasers are much bigger this time, right? So I make my way down and I make sure to, right here, I almost messed up, right? But I make my way down the laser countermeasures until I reach the terminal and I'm able to successfully extract the data this time. But the key thing here, guys, is just to take your time. See right here, I like to jump at this last one because there's been times where I didn't jump and somehow the lasers just barely managed to like clip my head or something. So we're gonna go ahead and remember when you're doing these terminals, just try to form a circle. Some of these patterns are weird, but usually as long as you got those two basic patterns down where it's the full circle and then where it's the circle with the two spikes at the end, you should be okay. So as you can see, we are at the next terminal where we need to extract data from, right? So I'm gonna take my time and I'm gonna make my way through these laser countermeasures, and I'm gonna be sure not to trip any cameras along the way. So I'm gonna destroy this camera and I'm gonna keep making my way over here. And sometimes you can run through multiple lasers, but I don't advise it. I just advise you be as careful as possible. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here, right? And I'm going to look inside the room to see if there's any cameras facing the door. I don't see any cameras facing the door, but I do see that there's one enemy inside. So I'm going to make sure to deal with him upon entering the room. So since there's no camera facing the door, I'm going to go ahead and hack this terminal. Remember, try to just make a circle. This is one of the easier ones where you just have to make a circle and rotate the middle. So after I get inside, I'm gonna go ahead and deal with this guy, and then that's gonna give me free reign to hack the terminal and get the data at my own leisure. So when it comes down to these hard terminals, it's really just a matter of take your time and be careful, because if you don't take your time and you mess around and you panic, you will end up dying or tripping the alarms. See right here, I'm trying to go inside. I've already reset the alarms, but I'm just getting harassed by a ton of corpus. And one of them even tries to reset the alarms again, but I just go in and I try to clear these guys out before I go into the data extraction room. And these guys are literally taking chunks out me, but they did drop me some stances that I didn't have, so that was a plus, right? But at a certain point, I'm just like, you know what, these guys are gonna keep coming, so let me just hack my way inside the data room and extract data. So I quickly hack the terminal, that way I can get inside the data extraction room, and I see I lucked out because it's another one of these, two of these in the same mission. Lucky day, right? But unfortunately, as I run inside here, I see an enemy, right? I take out the enemy and I see another one up there, right? And I feel like he's running for the cameras. So I quickly jump up top and I take that dude out. But in my rush to take this guy out, I end up tripping the alarms myself because the camera ends up spotting me, right? So at this point, I know the route. And so I just need to get to the data as quickly as possible. So I jump up and I just kind of fall on my ass through the lasers, and that's going to drop me directly in front of the terminal, and I'm just going to cipher it so I can successfully pull the data. And so even though I did trip the alarms and I did fuck up, I was still able to successfully pull the data, and that's what matters at the end of the day. So next, from here, you can get to either Sedna or you can get to Ares. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump over to Sedna because unfortunately they removed the spy mission from Ares, which was the only infested spy mission, which was actually pretty dope. But we're gonna jump over here to Sedna and we're gonna go ahead and head to Terminal A. So I'm gonna hack my way inside this data extraction room after I reset the alarms right here. And as you can see, it's just another variant of this one that we had earlier. And I don't even know what countermeasures are on the other side because you should never even take the other side. You should always take this route right here because this is always going to be the easiest route that you can take when dealing with this terminal right here. Hell, I've never even seen the other side because I always go this way for the simple fact that there's no countermeasures going this route, right? You just need to be able to successfully hack the terminals, and then at that point, you can pretty much just leave at your own leisure. So next, we're gonna jump over here to Terminal B, and as you can see, right, Terminal B is just the same variation of the one we had earlier, but this one is going to have two drones patrolling instead of one. Now, even though there are two drones here, the strategy is still the same. Just hide right here and wait to that drone on the left side of the room. That's going to be my left, that red drone right there. Wait until that drone goes up to the terminal, right? Once it goes up to the terminal and it turns its back, that should give you enough of a window to head over there and successfully extract the data undetected, just like you see in the video. So bam, we're going to go ahead and move on to Terminal C at this point. So I'm over here at Terminal C. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the alarms as I'm over here getting harassed by a bunch of Grenier, and I'm going to kill any enemies along the way. That way, no enemies can enter the room as I'm trying to extract data. But seeing as it's this terminal, we don't even need to kill the enemies because the same rules apply. Jump up to the top, head through the hole in the roof, destroy the sensor bar, and extract data at your own leisure. This terminal right here is so easy that you should be able to do it with a bunch of enemies running around inside the data extraction room. But it's still a good practice to kill any enemies along the way. And as you can see, we identified some endo, a meso relic, and we identified power throw. So this is by no means every spy in the game, guys, but you know what? It's fucking most of them. And that's going to wrap this video up. Thank you for joining us on our first step tutorial for Warframe spy missions. You have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.